I've been reflecting on a coaching conversation I had recently, and at the beginning of my sessions, I will often ask, what's the one thing you most want to get out of our time together? Like, we have 90 minutes here. What is it that you're most hoping to walk away with by the end of our time? This one individual told me, I want to have a conviction that I'm moving in the right direction. In fact, the exact words, I want conviction for what we are building and conviction on a direction for where we are going. Now, as soon as I heard those, I knew exactly which question to ask. In fact, there are two different questions. Number one, what are you building? And number two, where are you going? And this individual did not have an answer to either of those questions. And in fact, deflected the value of setting a destination of where they want to go. Almost as though by having a destination, it somehow ties you into only one outcome and it squeezes you into a certain path and it takes away your freedom. These are the kinds of things that I was sensing. And there's this philosophical answer of, I just want to go through life with curiosity. I just want to I just want to go with the flow of life. I just want to take things as they come and just have this very nonchalant approach to life. And well, I can tell you that there is something to be said about that approach to life. And I know there have been seasons of my life where I tap more into that desire to just be open to the flow of whatever, than other seasons of my life where I want a great deal more certainty and conviction about exactly what I'm creating and where I'm going and this feeling that what I've done today is moving me in some sort of right direction. And so there is a contrast between those two, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to just go with the flow of life if that's what you're open to. But if you want to have a level of certainty about where you're going and conviction about some direction that you're taking, if you want conviction in a business model that you're going to choose to take, you've got to have a destination in mind. I want to challenge this idea that if you choose a destination, you lose your freedom. I go on a number of road trips, and I did more of them before COVID. I was speaking at tons of conferences. And I always knew that by this date, I need to be in this city, and I need to be prepared the next day to be on this stage for this event. Now, that's a destination. Did I have to make a level of commitment that I am going to be there? Yes. Did I need to make sure that I secured a place for me to stay at a hotel? Yes. Did I have to lock that in and block that out on my calendar? Yes. And so to some degree, when I said yes to that experience, I was kind of locking myself in. That means that let's just say that week or that day or whatever, by saying yes, there are a number of other things that might come up later where invitations would come in where I've already contractually agreed to speak here at this event. I've already made all of the preparations. And so at some level, one could argue that once you make a commitment to go speak in a certain town on a certain date, that maybe you no longer have as much freedom of what you could say yes to other opportunities if they were to come along. But here's the thing. If my destination is I want to speak at more events, I want to be exposed to new audiences, and saying yes to this event is a part of that process. And sure, there could be other opportunities that come along, but I am making an agreement. I am going to speak here. That is a destination. Now, thinking about the whole process of how do I get there? So let's just bring this into the micro level here. thinking about this as a metaphor. If I were speaking at Giovanna Ellison's event in Montgomery, Alabama, I did that right before COVID. I could have taken all sorts of different paths to get there. The idea that there is a right path to choose and that I need some level of certainty that I'm choosing the right path, that is in many ways I've discovered is a false dichotomy. Now, I can do some research and say, okay, what seems to be the most direct path and what are my priorities? Are my priorities to get there the most gas efficiently as far as fuel cost? Because I could avoid certain mountainous roads and go more on a level trajectory. I'm looking for the fastest way to get there. And so even though I might go out of my way and add a couple of miles on, I could bypass major cities that are known to have significant massive traffic backups. There are a lot of factors that I could do some research on, but the fact that there seems to be a right decision, there's any number of unknown situations and circumstances that could come up along any of those paths that would disrupt my original plan for taking that path. And does that make it wrong, or does it make sure that it confirms that? I mean, there's just so many unknowns. And so having some level of conviction about the path that I'm choosing, well, first of all, I need to know what city I'm going to, what destination I'm going to choose to go to before I begin to check out what path I'm going to go down. And then if I could just say, you know what, I'm not so much concerned about choosing the right path, but I do have some priorities. I have a destination in my mind. I'm very much committed to getting to this place by this day, this time, so that I can be prepared to give that talk and be well rested the night before, all the good stuff. And you know what? I think based upon my research, this level, this plan, this route out of multiple different routes seems to be a very good path for me to choose. And this is the route that I'm going to plug into my GPS, if you will. Now, I may get down halfway through from Cincinnati to Montgomery, Alabama, and run into some major situation, and then all of a sudden see that, oh my gosh, the road's been shut down because of this thing that's going on, and it looks like it's going to be shut down for the next 4 hours minimum. Well, it's time to reroute and try a different path, a different destination. But that doesn't keep me from having some level of conviction about the destination I originally chose. And just because at least I had that level of conviction and I started down that path, I feel like, you know what, I did the proper research. I did the best I could with what I had, with the information I had to work with. I knew where I was going. I knew what my priorities were, whether it was time, efficiency, length of miles, all of the different stuff. And so I couldn't have the conviction about the original route that I chose without having the destination. But I had the destination, I knew my priorities, I did the research, and I have some level of conviction. But just because I have conviction doesn't mean that path, that trajectory, that route that I had chosen and prepared ahead of time is guaranteed to have certainty that this is going to be the route that works without any unexpected, unintended outcomes. No, there's things that are unknown that come up along the journey. And in each of those situations, I still have a lot of freedom to choose, okay, what do I do? Do I sit here, wait it out? Do I take another path and go around? Do I drive to the nearest airport and get myself a flight? I mean, there's all sorts of different things that could be done, but having that destination and knowing there's a specific date and time that I need to be in this location, it's like, okay, well, I thought driving would be a really great way to make this trip, but man, it looks like in between Nashville and Georgia, there's something going on, and none of the other alternatives seem to make a lot of sense. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this rental car and I'm going to go and park it into the public parking over at this airport in Nashville. I'm going to grab myself a flight and fly into Montgomery, get another rental car, and I, by golly, I'll be there. I make it up as I go. There's the freedom to do anything along the way, but the fact that I have the destination is what gives me the conviction that I'm moving in the right direction. So it's not that I have conviction that the path that I've chosen or the route that I've chosen is going to be the perfect right route to get there. It's just the destination is what's drawing me. It's the end goal. And so if I want that level of conviction about what I'm building, I have to know what I'm building, the destination. If I want to know with some level of conviction about the path that I'm choosing to go down, the business model, I need to know what's the destination of the business. What does that look 3 to 5 years from now? Tell me what that is. What city, what hotel will I be staying at the end of this journey that I'm on? It's very similar metaphorically. And so what I love about it is that knowing that I have to be at that place at that time in Montgomery, Alabama, I know I could go get a great, is the Greyhound bus what I'm going to do? Am I going to get on a train? Am I going to get on a plane? And guess what? If any of those options are available to me, do I hire a helicopter? I mean, whatever. There's all sorts of different alternative things for me to consider to get to Montgomery, Alabama. But the one thing that ensures and gives me some level of conviction that I'm moving in the right direction is knowing what the destination is. So when I get to the airport, when I get to the train station, I know which direction to go towards. I'm going towards Montgomery, Alabama. I want to get closer to that place, and I can evaluate the other options that are there to make sure that I make it within the amount of time so that I have it. So anyway, that's what comes to my mind at first. The next thing that comes to my mind is why people resist choosing a destination. There is a level of responsibility and commitment that's required for you to show up and to make something happen. And also, when you make a decision to choose a destination and say, hey, I'm putting my name on this, I'm putting my reputation on this, I am saying this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, I will be there on that date. There's the possibility of something going wrong and you falling through, and resisting setting the destination oftentimes comes out of fear of that responsibility, fear of making that commitment. What if a better opportunity comes along? Or what if I get it wrong? What if I get sick? There's all sorts of what ifs. And I got to tell you, we all have those beliefs. We all have that inner narrative that sometimes gets in the way of us committing ourselves to a destination. But really what it is taking ownership of what we actually want to create in this world. And if we want to have true freedom and we want to create something that is meaningful, at some point we need to sit down and make a commitment of this is the destination that I am setting out for. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm building. Naming the thing that you're building, naming the place that you're going. The only way we get the conviction for what we're building is to know what we're building, to give it a name. And the only way we get conviction about any direction that we're going, we need to know what destination. And the reality is that these fears that all sorts of things could go wrong, the reality is that several things will go wrong. And that's not always a bad thing. In fact, I would argue that it may never be a bad thing. I've set out on to do many things that I've proclaimed as my destination, the big goals that I've gone after in my life. I'll share some of those here in just a moment. But in every situation and circumstance where things didn't quite go the way that I thought they should, or the way that I would prefer that they would go, whenever an obstacle or a hurdle would be in my path, and the idea that I might just give up and just forget about it, the fact that I didn't caused me to grow. In many ways, there are things that I face today, 20 years later into this journey, that show up in my world that I don't even think of as an obstacle. I don't even consider them anything worth giving too much of my attention to. A perfect example of this is if I woke up one day and I'm like, okay, today is the day I'm going to launch this big, huge push for this new product that I'm putting out into the world. And I just sent out the first email in a series of emails that are going to go out over the next couple of hours and the next couple of days. I've prepared for this for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Well, if I send out that first message and then all of a sudden my web server or my web provider, Kajabi, goes down, if all of a sudden that goes down, I'm like, well, that's inconvenient. And I would probably reach out to Kajabi and say, hey, are you aware? Yeah, we're aware. It's a whole thing, Cloudflare or Amazon S3. They're working on it. They don't have an ETA. And there have been times when, those kind of things could be happening to multiple services all throughout the world. And it could last many hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, a day and a half in some situations. And it's like, well, that's interesting. Well, let me ask myself, can I send an email to my community and say, hey, well, first of all, do I have the ability to log into my services that are all automated? Can I go in and just put that on pause? And can I send out a broadcast message to everyone who received that first message and say, hey, I don't know if you saw this, but here's a link to an article of something that's going on worldwide. These are the services that are impacted. As a result of that, I'm delaying this. I will be in touch within the next 2 or 3 days, or maybe even a couple 2 to 3 hours. Who knows? But I'm keeping my thing on this. But right now, the sales page, the checkout page, all the things that I was telling you about in that previous email, not currently available. Please stand by. I'll be back in touch shortly. And then I just go out to lunch. Whereas that's me today. But if you were to have that happen 15 years ago, and by the way, things like this did happen, it would ruin my day. I would catastrophize it. I would be so upset. I would be thinking, "Oh my gosh, what's people thinking of me?" They're probably thinking, "What? Gosh, this guy can't even. Why should I trust him as a business person if he can't even have a website that can handle the traffic of a simple little sales campaign like this? What are people going to think of me?" I had so much concern and fear about my reputation and how I was being perceived by others when things didn't go wrong that I would get so upset, and I would be on the phone or texting with the support department, for hours, all day, with high anxiety, high stress levels, cortisol coursing through my. Well, and for those that don't know this, the end of my first year in business, after 12 months of having those kind of reactions to the smallest of things, they didn't seem small at the time. That's the key that I'm getting at here. But at the end of my first year, I went into the hospital. I had destroyed my gallbladder and I had gallstones. I almost died in the hospital at the beginning of January 2009 because of how much stress I was under. But I will tell you, what I learned and how I grew through all of those things, and the fact that I still never gave up on my desired outcome. I knew what I was building. I knew my destination, and even though those were the traffic jams and the unexpected detours that I had to take back then, it's through those that I've learned how to handle them with more responsiveness and less reactiveness. So these things that can go wrong, the pitfalls that may be available, all of these things, they can help us grow. It can help us learn how to go with the flow of life, even when the flow of the river is more rapids than peaceful streams. And that is a very real part of all of our lives. And if you're on an entrepreneurial journey, there's some rushing rapids from time to time. And without having a very clear, committed destination, those rushing rapids feel like problems that sometimes will feel unsurmountable. But when you have a very clear destination and you are absolutely committed to it, those obstacles become part of the actual path. They teach you how to respond to life instead of reacting to everything that comes up. Over time, your capacity to weather the storms, the rapids, to the hurdles, your capacity to handle those things will expand, and they will change how you experience any future issues. That's the power of choosing a destination and going after it. I'll give you a couple of examples from my own journey. When I first started my online business, before I started my online business, I should say, I was an insurance agent. I had been an insurance agent for 12 years. I worked in a family insurance agency owned by my mom and dad. The insurance agency was started by my grandfather in 1937, and there was a very real expectation that I would take over the family business. But I had started podcasting, and the idea of setting a different destination for my life became very evident. It was a future destination where I earn a living, supporting my family and doing work that was me speaking into a microphone, being a source of entertainment, education, encouragement, and inspiration to people around the world. And if I had to supplement what I was doing, I would also work as a podcast coach and consultant. That was my new destination. And I got to tell you, there was very real possibility and potential for failure. And it took a while before that commitment to that destination came along. And if you've listened to the stories that Stephanie and I have told you, it was my wife who finally convinced me to kick my butt into gear and to make that commitment, to say, you know what? Yes, I am committed to, and I agree to this as my destination. And it wasn't easy. There were lots of problems along the way, but knowing that this was what I had committed to and knowing why it was important and how aligned it felt with what I wanted to be in the world and how I wanted to feel in the world and the impact that I wanted to make in the world, this destination was my jam. And so I moved forward, and I actually did succeed a great deal with what I was doing with content creation through our Generally Speaking production network, and I achieved massive success as the podcast answer man when it comes to podcast coaching and consulting. But here's the thing. At some point, I realized I have reached the destination. And it had given me way more than I had ever hoped or dreamed of when I set out to go towards that destination. And once I got there, I got to the place where I'm like, is this it? Is this all there is to life? And you know what I did? I decided I wanted to set a different destination. Back in November 2017, after about 2.5 years of dreaming of a different destination, one where I had already received a lot of success, a lot of notoriety, a lot of credibility. People knew me, a brand recognition that was amazing in the online business world. I wanted to do the same thing that I did with insurance, the guaranteed future, if you will. I wanted to set myself a new destination. This time, I wanted to be known as the Mindset Answer Man. I wanted to see what life would be like as someone who hosts and facilitates environments like mastermind groups for entrepreneurs, to do even more public speaking, to be on more stages, and also hosting my own live events. And so I set that destination. And there was a lot of unknowns. There were a lot of things for me to learn along the way. There were a lot of mistakes made. There was a lot of success that came along as well. And ultimately, I got to where that was another destination that I had achieved. I'm like, this is amazing. Now, I will admit that COVID threw everything off. They shut down pretty much 2/3 of my business, which was public speaking on many stages and hosting my own annual conference. And so I went all in on my mastermind groups. And during that season of life, I began some very real exploration in the spiritual arena on my faith journey. And I began to have a lot of amazing conversations with other paid clients who wanted to discuss that as a main primary topic that was a part of our conversations. And over time, I even thought maybe there's even a new destination. So I went from Insurance Answer Man or insurance agent to Podcast Answer Man. And then I went to the destination Mindset Answer Man. And then I set out for another destination, Spiritual Answer Man. I'm just making that up. I never thought about that as a brand. But it's kind of coming back full circle to where I was when I was 18. I wonder what life would be like if I could devote my life to full-time ministry, to being of support and encouragement to others. And so I thought that maybe this was the next evolution. This is the next destination. And you know what? I devoted the next 18 months of my life pursuing that destination, going after that destination. There were lots of traffic jams. The GPS on my business path to get towards that kept saying rerouting. And guess what? I did not reach that destination. But I will tell you what, I grew along the way. I learned so many valuable lessons. There is so much healing that took place in my own journey. In fact, I would say that maybe, just maybe, to say that I did not reach that destination might not quite be accurate, because in many ways I have. It just looks different than I thought it would. Meaning that there is still a layer of the spiritual work, the deeper foundation that many of the clients who come to me for technical podcast and then business strategy and business mindset, and there's always those few who want to go into the deeper layer where we get the real transformation at that spiritual identity level. It's like, this is sweet. And so many ways I have reached that destination, or I'm reaching that destination. It's just different than how I thought it was. But here's what I will tell you is there is so much I learned during this 18-month period of time where I put a lot on the line, where I risked a lot. And you know what? One could argue there's a way of perceiving those 18 months where I lost a lot. But that's not how I see it. I look back and see how much I gained, how much I grew. And I look at the financial cost of those 18 months. And I see that as one of the greatest investments I made to bring me to where I am now. Now, when I think about the business model that I have today and what is my destination today, I shifted that at the third quarter of 2025. I've been documenting that here in this podcast ever since. And it's very clear that I've decided that my destination is back into the Mindset Answer Man. It is Cliff Ravenscraft, business strategy and mindset coach. I have even readopted the podcast Answer Man moniker and all of the credibility that is associated with that brand. I'm willing for people to come to me and ask me questions about podcasting and technical stuff, realizing that this is the actual path to my overall destination, which isn't podcast Answer Man, mindset Answer Man, or even spiritual Answer Man. It's my destination is for me to make a living serving others in whatever way is necessary for me to be of support and encouragement to what they are going after in life. That's really been the whole core of who I am this entire time. But I will tell you, I still set destinations. Right now, my current destination, I will say boldly, is I am filling up. I've committed to filling up 2 mastermind groups for the Next Level Mastermind. One for my established entrepreneurs, people who already have a business, been self-employed, they've got validated products and services, they know that their clients or customers are served well by their products and services, and they want to be in life with other people who are doing business at their level, who understand what a business owner faces on a day-to-day basis. They want to be in an environment with other business owners. And then a second mastermind group that I'm filling with those who are early stage entrepreneurs, those who are trying to figure out the validation of their products and services, getting to that consistent revenue so that they can see more predictable, reliable, sustainable income in their business. This is my current destination. And with that clarity of who I'm looking to serve and how I'm looking to serve, and the fact that I'm willing to bring my business strategy and mindset coaching, my Mindset Answer Man brand, which is really essentially the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, and my podcast Answer Man brand. Now I'm speaking on stages, giving 90-minute workshops on podcasting, and I'm giving mindset talks at other conferences for entrepreneurs. I am hitting all of these different elements that are available to me. I have the freedom to choose whatever I'm committed to, but I do know the destination. Right now, I'm filling 2 paid mastermind groups for those on the entrepreneurial path. And I can change my destination over time. I can reinvent myself. There is no lack of freedom in choosing a destination. You're not locked into it forever, and you don't have to get it right. You can get many things wrong along the way. I have chosen many destinations in my life. I've changed my destination from time to time, and I've even missed some destinations. But I've evolved through every single one of them. I am who I am today. I have grown into who I am today because of the destinations that I was bold enough to choose and move towards. So I have a question for you. Where are you asking for conviction without naming a destination? And what might change if you simply chose one? If you need help discerning what destination you're going after in life, feel free to email me. My email address is cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. Until next time, I encourage you to take everything you do to the next level.